The gearing exercise requires a number of steps, yet yields more specific insight into a person's applied capability related to their level of work. Now, to perform this assessment requires a tool, and like most management tools, this turns out to be a piece of paper. You actually already own this piece of paper. It's usually in a 3-ring binder up on a shelf somewhere. No one's looked at it for 5 years, and it's called a job description or a role description. Now, the problem with most role descriptions is while they do a good job of identifying the tasks and activities associated with each of the key result areas, they do a very poor job of identifying the level of work. So the first step is to identify the level of work. Once we've identified that level of work in each of the key result areas, we can now move on to assess the effectiveness of the internal candidate related to each key result area. For this example, we're going to use a role description for a customer service manager, focusing on the following key result areas. We're going to start with scheduling, then recruiting, then sales, which seems odd for customer service, but I will explain, and then fourth, planning. So let's start with the key result area of scheduling. As you can see, the tasks and activities are fairly well outlined. We need to have enough people on the customer service counter when we're busy, but we also need to control overtime. But what we have not identified is the time span level of work. So let's start with some diagnostic questions. Where's the schedule for 1 week out? Well, it's posted in the lunchroom. Okay, where's the schedule for 2 weeks out? Also posted in the lunchroom right underneath next week's schedule. And where's the schedule for 3 weeks out? Well, it's not posted in the lunchroom, but it exists. It's on the customer service manager's desk. He's still working on it. And where's the schedule for 4 weeks out? Well, it's also on the customer service manager's desk. He has to figure out, who's available, who wants vacation, who's going to have sick time, and that sort of thing. And where's the schedule for 5 weeks out? Well, it turns out we don't schedule 5 weeks out. So you tell me how many weeks involved in the key result area of scheduling. Turns out to be 4 weeks or 1 month. What stratum work is that? Stratum 1. The next key result area is the key result area of recruiting. Now you'll notice the tasks and activities are very similar to that of scheduling. We need to have enough people when we're busy, but we also need to control overtime. But it's a completely different key result area requiring a different level of work. Thinking through the sequence, first we have to identify that we're going to need someone else on our staff. Then we're going to place an ad on Craigslist, conduct some interviews, and finally select a candidate. Now, when I ask that question, how long does it take? I get responses all over the map. Maybe it takes a week, maybe it takes 2 weeks, maybe a month or 6 weeks. You see, sometimes this time span stuff can be elusive, but there is always one thing that will drag you to the right answer. Remember that time span is simply the by-when of the goal. To understand the time span in this key result area, all we have to do is pay attention to the goal. So what's the goal? Is the goal to hire someone who can just help out behind the counter, empty out the trash cans? Or is the goal to have someone who every time a customer comes up and asks a question, they have to run over to find out what the answer is so they can come back and respond? Or is the goal to have someone who can confidently stand behind the customer service counter, solo, no one else around, and accurately and confidently answer 99.9% of the questions that come across the desk? You see, if that's the goal, we know that we don't let anyone solo before 4 months. And now that you understand this as a 4-month time span task assignment, does that change the interview questions you may ask? Does that change the person you may select out of the candidate pool? Now the next key result area is the key result area of sales. Now, many of our sales may come through a traditional sales channel, but some of our sales may also come through a customer service channel. By looking at the transaction activity, we may be misled as to what the time span is. Is the goal to complete the sales transaction? In the short term, yes. But if our goal is to become single source supplier to this customer, you see, we keep track of our customers in our computer system, and we don't get everybody, but the ones that we get, we know, on average, take 8 months to become single source supplier. And now that you understand this as an 8-month time span task assignment, does that change the way you answer that first telephone call? Does that change the way you roll out the red carpet on the first customer visit? Now, the last key result area is the key result area of planning. We know when we're busy around the company. We have high season, we have low season. I want my customer service manager to provide me with a 12-month personnel plan, and I need him to execute to that plan, to bring people on when we're busy, and also to relocate people around to other parts of the company when we're not so busy. Now, there's a hint in there. Any ideas? 12-month time span task assignment, high 2, low 3 level of work. So now we have a role description with identified levels of work which we can use as the basis for the next step. The next step is the evaluation of effectiveness in each of the key result areas. Now, to make this somewhat scientific, we're going to take 3 data points. We're going to have our customer service manager do a self-assessment. Then we're going to ask his manager to do an assessment. And we're going to go one more level up the food chain to the manager once removed. Now, this assessment is somewhat complicated. If he is just doing minimum basic required tasks and activities, he's just going to get a pass. If, however, he is exceeding prescribed duties using his discretionary judgment, then he's going to get a thumbs up. I know this is complicated. You can either draw a picture of my thumb or just write thumbs up. Now, if he's not even meeting prescribed duties, you're going to give him a thumbs down. I know this is complicated, but that's the assessment. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We're going to start with the key result area of scheduling. When we ask the customer service manager, he gives himself a thumbs up. So does his manager. So does his manager once removed. In the key result area of recruiting, the customer service manager says that he got the ad into Craigslist, so he's going to give himself at least a neutral, give himself a pass. His manager says no. Manager once removed says no. In the key result area of sales, the customer service manager says that he's logging the customer identification into the computer system so that we can track them, so he's got to give himself at least a pass. His manager says no. Manager once removed says no. Key result area of planning, the customer service manager had to admit that even though they'd asked him several times, he hadn't even started on the project. He had to give himself a thumbs down. He finally got some agreement from his manager. Manager once removed. Unanimous, thumbs down. So when you look at this evaluation matrix, where would you peg the customer service manager's time span capability, applied capability in his current role? What this assessment tells us about the effectiveness in each of the key result areas for this customer service manager is that this person may be effective at Stratum 1 level of work task assignments, but may struggle with Stratum 2, Stratum 3 level of work task assignments. So now, as his manager, you have a decision to make. You can either remove him from the role or adjust the time span of his task assignments inside the role. This assessment of applied capability to level of work is some of the most important work for every manager. It has 3 parts to it. Let me explain those parts in the form of a question. Is it within your authority as a manager to determine what task assignments need to be completed? Is it also within your authority as a manager to determine a reasonable amount of time for those tasks to be completed in? And is it also within your authority to evaluate the effectiveness of the people that you've assigned to complete those tasks? This is managerial work.